So I'm Wade from Chandler Limited, and we're hanging out with Vintage King. Anyway, at AES 2009. So we're, I guess, going to talk about the germanium units. We have a preamp, EQ, and a compressor of all those. They're using germanium transistors, Class A circuits. Very kind of unique kind of sound. One of the special things about it, besides that it's germanium, is that you have a gain control and, more importantly, a feedback control on each unit. So you can control the amplifier negative feedback and tailor the sound of the unit for whatever you happen to be working on. So as you kind of adjust the feedback from left to right, over here, harmonic content is very high. The high frequency is actually slightly boosted, and the low frequency is a little bit rolled off. As you change this to the other side, you're going to get probably 100 times less harmonic distortion, and the high frequency will come down and the low frequency will boost. So you kind of get a shifting tone control with it, as well as the harmonics varying by a really large amount. So you combine that with the gain, and most people end up using it as kind of turning both knobs at one time, and you can kind of go from a very clean, kind of pristine sound with very low distortion to really high, almost tube-like sound and distortion. I think it is our most successful piece, the preamp, and I think that's because why it is, because it's more than just a preamp where you turn it up. You can tailor it for the instrument, for the microphone, for the performance, whatever. And this is my favorite piece as well. It got to do exactly what I wanted and be creative with it, and I think it turned out well. So that's kind of the basic overview. You have the preamp, which uses that circuit. We have a tone control, it's called, and then the germanium compressor. The tone control is interesting. It starts with the gain and feedback, and then you have a passive low frequency section, very much like a Pultec, where you can boost and cut at the same time. You can select bells and shelves, and you can actually pick the frequencies separately from each other. So you can pick the frequency to boost and the frequency to cut, whereas a Pultec, you pick 60 hertz and you start boosting and cutting. You can actually tune that magic drop point that a Pultec does by sliding the cut position. So I took that Pultec style thing and married it with kind of an active English, Neve, Calrec, Helios, whatever you want to call it, that kind of British active EQ console sound, and kind of stuffed them together. So I took my two favorite sounds and made them into one unit. So the low frequency is the passive inductor based boost and cut, and then you have a high and mid band. It's very English console style EQ. The germanium compressor, we started with the same tone shaping with the amplifiers, and I wanted to stick with the kind of flexibility and the neat, kind of hopefully neat options that you get with the EQ and the preamp. So we added things like internal wet-dry mixing, where you don't have to actually bus it out to do a submix, or what do they call, parallel processing? Sorry. So you can actually do that directly on the unit without all the latency, without patching, without very convenient and kind of a neat little feature. There's a variable sidechain built in, so you don't have to use any external keys or any of that fussing around. Very effective for kind of tailoring it for mix buses and for drums, and where there's a lot of low frequency or a lot of just information in general. And another interesting option is the compressor curve, where you can actually go in and select completely different knee circuits. We've all heard of hard knee or soft knee or whatever. This has completely different circuits using different diodes, germanium diodes, silicon diodes, Zener diodes, and all creating kind of their own interesting effect on the sound. And then you can actually switch it out, so there's no knee, no germanium, no diode anywhere in the circuit, and that's actually the smoothest of all of them. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the overview of the germanium is that kind of going for creativity with it, and kind of a big, nice, smooth, warm sound. So all Class A, kind of pretty vintage sounding, and my favorite things we do. So, rock. See ya.